Welcome back to Breakfast. Let's take a look at some of the newspaper front pages today. And the Times leads with thousands taking to the streets to confront anti-immigration protesters.
The Telegraph reports Britain shuts up shop over riots threat as the nation anticipated about 100 protests last night.
The Metro accuses the Russian President, Putin, of stoking the riots by infiltrating online chat groups on platforms such as Telegram.
The Mail hails last night as a win for anti-hate marchers who say they face down the thugs.
And The Sun leads with nailed and jailed as more than 100 rioters are charged and over 400 are arrested.
All right, let's talk through some of that then with broadcaster and lawyer Andrew Eborn and social campaigner Winston Davis. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Andrew, let's start with you. Should we be looking at the Times and the thousands who took to the streets last night?
It is extraordinary, isn't it? The United Kingdom divided is what we've had every single day for the last few days. We've had these horrible headlines seeing this sort of thing. And what it is, it's basically these... Yesterday, they were expecting lots more riots. People were boarding up their shops and so on and so forth. But actually, the counter to all of that, where there was the messages of hope coming out and saying, no, actually, we're going to confront the people who are doing this sort of stuff to make sure that people are protected. The concern I've got with this is the language that's used, because instantly you're either turning around and saying it's far right. Well, I don't know if it is far right. People are using the excuses. They remember the awful murders that we had of Elsie, Alice and Bibi, who were only sort of 7, 6 and 9. And they started off using that as an excuse. And it all started because a channel, a false channel on social media called Channel 3 Now, you might remember, and the people said it was a Russian channel and so on and so forth. I did a deeper dive into this, and basically they've only got 3,373 followers, but they suggested that it was something Islamophobia and so on and so forth, and that sort of triggered it. But the reality is the thugs who are going into these shops and looting and stealing television sets, it's got nothing to do at all with the murder of 3 little girls.
No.
And I think that's what we need to do. And it's also in the media, we need a responsibility, if you like, about looking at the language, because all of them talk about it far right. I don't know if it's far right. I don't know if they're anti-immigration, or some of them might be. Others are just basic thugs. And you need to crack down on that sort of stuff.
But also, I mean, what is interesting with this, and I don't know if it's been every location where the violence broke out, but certainly in places like Blackpool, there was an area where there was the violence and the thuggery and all this sort of stuff, which obviously we absolutely condemn. But there was also a protest that remained absolutely peaceful of people who were just unhappy with the way the country is at the moment. But that's getting ignored.
Yeah, and I think that's right. And I think, again, in the media, we can shine a spotlight on the good stuff. There are legitimate protests. And most of these people are not protesters. Again, they're talking about the language. What should we describe them? People protest, you can do that lawfully and so on and so forth. But when you're going and looting shops, stealing a television set, as I say, has got nothing to do with the murder of 3 little girls. I think we need to take the sting out of that sort of stuff. We need to basically look at ways that we can calm things down, but also look at what the underlying currents are. What are the real problems that need to be addressed?
What I think, right, when I woke up this morning, I was thinking, please, please, please don't let there be more bad news in the newspapers about the riots. Don't let it be more negativeness. And to wake up and see photos of thousands of people standing up as being anti against the riots, and actually forget being anti, just a show of solidarity, without any anger, without hate, just coming together. Just being together and just saying, you know what, we are the majority of normal people of all different faiths, all different races, all different people, just people being together. Listen, we can be upset about what's going on in the country. I don't think anybody can say they're happy how the country's being one way or the other. But actually, can we solve it in a respectful, understanding way? We talk about lots of stuff. We talk about values and what we stand for as a British country, right? And I was actually, shamefully, I didn't actually know what our values are supposed to be in there. And I was doing a bit of research on it at Google. And it's democracy, the rule of law, individual liberty, mutual respect, and tolerance. And actually, having tolerance for people, having respect, understanding there's a democratic process in this country is central to our values of being British. Yeah. Surely these people are showing that in what they're doing there.
Yes, they are. But what about I've got to be careful because, as you say, language is very important in all of this. But then part of the concern is, but people who, I'm again not talking about the thugs, I'm talking about people who have been legitimately protesting on the other side. Part of the concern is that with uncontrolled immigration, which is what it feels like at the moment, that actually British values are disappearing, because actually you end up with communities where people are not integrated into British society.
So here's, look, I'm born here, right?
Yeah.
I've had to Google to find out what our British values are. So someone come to this country, maybe we need a conversation to say, you know what? We need to remind ourselves as a country, and especially when you come into the country as an immigrant or a new person's country, this is what the country stands for. Yeah. This is the country we are. You know, you go to a business meeting or as a company, you'll have your mission statement and you'll have, you know, what your company stands for and what your goals and objectives are. As a country, maybe we need that. I mean, we've got it here, but it's not widely shared enough, because I don't know it.
And the problem is this, Winston, as well, is that where you do celebrate your national identity, you get criticised for that, and there are risks on that sort of basis as well. But it was interesting, as Andrew Murray KC, who was the judge of Liverpool Crown Court, he said the collective grief of residents of Southport was hijacked by the men's callous actions, and that's the point. It's the grief, and you turn around, the families are pleading for people, don't riot and so on and so forth. What's interesting is the last election that we had, they were all campaigning about immigration and about the economy and so on and so forth. And obviously the economy had that terrible blip in the last few days. Obviously immigration is front and centre again. I can guarantee if we held the election again today, Starmer would not be in power.
Oh, really?
I'm going for the soundbite. Yeah. But you're working, that's a principle. But I would urge again, we should look at the language that's used. I know that the discussions in newsrooms are get rid of these expressions like far right, get rid of expressions like protests, where it's not a protest. Protests are a legitimate cause.
But then within all of this, what is raised time and time again is that legitimate concerns are not being addressed by politicians. You know, now, Michaela's literally just messaged in, hi Michaela, and she says, it's not about race, it's about fairness to British citizens and the fact we feel like we're second class.
Yeah, and
that's fair, isn't it?
I'm not, and 100%. And this goes back to what I've been saying for a long time, but particularly this last week, that British people, a lot of working class who made up majority of this country, have been forgotten about, have been underfunded, have been marginalised for decades. The closure of traditional working class jobs, the selling off of council housing, you know, forgetting that they actually exist, they're not given a voice. And I 100%, I understand that, but I think that the frustration is being pointed at the wrong groups of people, when actually it's the governments that have been controlling it. They make the rules. They decide who can come to the country, who's stopping people come to the country. They're the people that should be held to account.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and it's fair to say, you know, this is not a Labour problem, because Conservatives have been in for the last 14 years. Well, it's not made by Labour, this particular issue, but it's theirs to solve now.
Oh, exactly. And this is what is very easy when you're in opposition to criticise, that the reality is we need, as a society, to get together and turn down the narrative. And we've seen that in terrible situations in America and so on and so forth, with assassination attempts as a result of rhetoric. And I do think, as I say, the obligation in the media is to try and turn down the language that we use. But also, I think you're right, some people have say that's their concern. Other people's on these riots, it's not about that, so that's not the trigger for them. I think we need to look at what the real issues are. We need to get it back to the whole concept about society and all work on this together. I live in central London, where we have the biggest, wonderful Jewish community together with the Muslim community, the black and various. It is a wonderful melting pot of different things who've lived together perfectly peacefully for a very long time. The vile rhetoric that there's been online has spilled out onto the streets, and that's what we need to stop.
Yeah. Have you been satisfied with the way that Keir Starmer has handled this past week and what he said, talking about things like those involved in the riots will feel the full force of the law? Is that the right thing to say? Does that go far enough? Do you think he should have recalled Parliament? Because Stormont's been recalled, but Westminster wasn't.
Yeah, I think he should have recalled Parliament. This is a national issue that needs to be talked about today, not in a month's time. Listen, if you're going around, you're setting fire to hotels and you're doing some pretty bad things, you need to be dealt with. I think his way of doing it quickly, you know, these real quick turnarounds, someone got 3 years yesterday and 20 months or whatever, is to try and send a message to try and curb more people coming out and saying, "Oh, listen, look, you watch out." I think he would have been damned if he did, damned if he didn't.
I think you also need to look at history. I mean, I always say that history repeats itself because we don't learn the lessons from history. You look at the riots in 2011 and everything else. What you need to do is send a message to people very quickly. The consequences of your actions are you're getting these heavy prison sentences. It's going to ruin your life, effectively, if you've got a sentence against you. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to process these very, very quickly. Where they're going to put them is another issue, because obviously the prisons are full.
Yes.
But you're sending these messages. You get 3 years for this. You see some of the pictures which they've got on the front pages of some of these papers. There we go, nailed and jailed, they say in The Sun. And you have a look at that sort of side, and they've got youngsters, I mean, really young people on there and so on and so forth, whose lives are going to be ruined as a result of these criminal convictions. So it's a message to everybody, turn down the rhetoric. These are the consequences if you riot, and this is going to happen very, very quickly.
Yes, well, this is it. Don't riot. I mean, obviously, don't riot. You shouldn't need to be told, but still, your voice should still be heard if you have legitimate concerns.
But again, just to round off, but the thing is this: you say don't riot, but like I talk about the rhetoric and the language has been used, and it's been used more commonly now to get people, riled up about, pointing the finger at immigrants for problems, when I say, they should be pointing it upstairs, the people making the decisions. And then when they get hijacked by the far right, because we're not saying they're all far right that are involved in this, but the people that want to, direct this must be far right. There must be a far right element in there. Those are the people that are guiding this, and that's got to be looked at.
Winston, let's take a look at the Times. Indeed, loads of the newspapers this morning carrying this story. Taylor Swift has cancelled her Vienna shows over a terror plot.
Yep, Taylor Swift had 3 shows that were supposed to be on in Austria. A 19-year-old suspect who had sworn his allegiance to Islamic State a few months ago, a couple of months ago, or last month even, July. And they had found some substances suitable for an explosion at his parents' place. And on the backdrop of there being a terror attack in Vienna, not too distant, long time ago, they decided that this is the right action to take. Goes back to what you were just saying before about people, being influenced, being radicalised online, because he is radicalised online. And it's another thing of those of, he's 19 years old, very young, his life's over, or, the life he could have had is gone. And, he's taken the decision to do what he's done here, which, shocking.
It's little girls being targeted again, though, isn't it? It would be teenagers going to see Taylor Swift.
You're so right, Ellie. And you're looking at it was Elsie, Alice and Bibi who were at that Taylor Swift dance class. And you're talking on that sort of basis. But there are always threats. Anybody who runs events, that this is what's happening, and do that sort of stuff. There's got to be more to it than just this little knowledge. There's got to be a major incident. And the only way to avert it was to cancel that concert. We haven't got the full story yet, and hopefully that will come out. But the target, as you say, talking about little girls and that sort of stuff with Taylor Swift, it's abhorrent, absolutely abhorrent, and we should call it out.
And Taylor Swift's playing in London again next week, so it'll be interesting to see what the authorities are doing in terms of keeping those
Are you going? Have you been?
I'm looking into it. I went last month.
Right.
So if I can
go again.
I don't know if I can afford to go again.
It's a fortune.
It's so expensive.
How much was it?
It was £250 each.
Each song?
It's a lot for pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. It's a lot for one artist.
Just whatever you spent on booze when you were there.
Oh, there we go.
She did send me a video halfway through.
Is that halfway through?
Can you remember sending me that video? Very good. She was having a whale of a time.
Yes, I'm glad I survived the tail, actually, because I was on the edge, wasn't I?
Well, I saw Green Day, similar, but the ticket prices are crazy. I saw Green Day, similar sort of price. It's about 250 quid. If you're taking a whole group of people, you're taking a family, go and see Taylor Swift, you've got 2 girls or whatever it is, or the boys as well can go and see her. It's an absolute fortune. It's £1,000.
I know.
Crazy.
You're telling me. I'll take my sister.
Right? Oh,
Never again.
No. Very bad influence on you for a kick-off. Andrew, talking of all things which are a little bit show busy, The Sun says the closing ceremony of the Olympics on Sunday
Yes.
is going to have Tom Cruise in.
Yes, what a spoiler alert that is. There you go. Well, apparently what's going to happen is similar. Well, I know, but they've said exactly that. What's happened? Hollywood star Tom Cruise will perform. He's going to do this basic sort of thing. And obviously the next Olympics are going to be in the States. And what's going to happen? He's going to take the flag. He's going to do a sort of Mission Impossible drop down into the stadium. He's going to take the flag and he's going to go all the way off to the Hollywood Hills and the Hollywood sign. But it's a bit of a spoiler alert. And you turn around and think just how brilliantly we here in Britain, if you remember the 2012...
Yes.
It can't be topped.
It can't be topped, can it?
Can't be topped.
We didn't tell anybody. And the late Queen, Her Majesty, who was brilliant in it, and you saw her skydiving, right, remember, on that sort of thing, with the James Bond, and it was basically, we saw Daniel Craig coming in, and you thought it can't be the Queen, couldn't possibly
It
be
was
her.
the Queen,
and
she appeared.
And she turned round, and she did this skydiving, and it was absolutely
unbelievable.
brilliant. Yeah, but you're right, you can't top that, but Tom Cruise will be trying to do that, Tom.
And he's not French, so what's that
Well,
about?
no, but it's the tie-in with... You're right, he's not French, only past French, but Cruise, you could say it in French accent. But he basically is the connection between this and the next one in America where it's going to be. So that's the idea. He's taking it after the ceremony. But it will get people talking as opposed to talking about the opening ceremony. So it's going to be interesting to see what's happening on that sort of basis.
Let's see if it's just
Hope he doesn't have any wardrobe malfunction. Can I just bring you back to... Because I've had a message in from Ian.
Yes.
Who says, on this whole protest, riots, all that sort of thing, he says, Stephen is desperately trying to find something negative to say about last night's display from real true Brits, not the far right that disgraced this country.
Are you?
No, and it worries... what worries me about this whole debate is that people get so polarised in it. And you are either being... you either seem to be very, very anti all immigration, and in some cases being a bit racist, or you are the exact opposite, and you can't say anything without being racist. I've been called all sorts on Twitter.
Yes, and not just on Twitter.
No, but it's just.
But you're right.
But this worries me that we can't have a debate on this.
Yes.
You can't show concern about things without being labelled racist.
You're absolutely right, and I do think we always have to sort of shine more light and less heat on the situation. We have to be able to discuss this rationally without being labelled. It's like if you talk about I don't know, Gaza, if you say anything positive about Palestinians and you hate, I'm pro-peace, and you can get labelled, oh, you're anti-Semitic, or you're an apologist for Hamas. No, we're pro-peace. You can be pro-peace on that sort of basis, but just to label you because you want to have a debate about it is not right. What we want to do is take the sting out of it. We want to rectify the situation. And I always say, look, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Let's look at the causes of these issues. We're not taking either side. You're trying to find a positive way forward. And it's wrong to apply labels. It doesn't help the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, and just sort of round off on that. I mean, this goes back to these British values, right? Mutual respect being one of them. And it's like, if you think something and I think something, and if we don't agree on it, well, I've got to come to this, sometimes you come to this point and go, and you know what? We agree to differ on it, but with respect.
Yeah. Well, that's what this channel was set up to do.
Well, but that's the point of these conversations, right? And then we have a democratic process where we all cast our views, and on balance, however that works out, we get to the point of saying, right, well, this is how we all believe as a society, and this is how we're going to move forward. And it does, you're right, 100%, because I try not to read the comments, but I know there's people going, oh, he's an idiot, why is he away? And it's like, I want to live, all of us to live together as happily as best we can, but accepting our differences. You know, like, we're different people, but we've got to get together and move on as one.
Well, the thing is, online's become the new front line, and what happens is you get these keyboard warriors who often don't use their real names, they hide behind little Wookie poo or whatever they call themselves online. And the reality is working on that sort of principle. So watch the language. It's not helpful.
Yes.
Well, Winston, Andrew, you've been very helpful this morning. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next hour. Let's take a look at the weather now with Luke.
A brighter outlook with Bob Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Right, time to go through the papers this morning, and we're joined today by the broadcaster and lawyer Andrew Eborn and social campaigner Winston Davis. Morning to you both, Andrew.
Morning. Yes.
Can we have a look at the Daily Mail and Robert Jenrick?
Yes, extraordinary language, isn't it? You would hope that people would know, being in the public eye, about the language that you use. And basically what he's turning around and saying is that people who shout Allah Akbar in public should be immediately arrested, is what he said. And the trouble is, what it means, it's used all the time in religion, is God is great in Arabic. That's what it means.
Yeah.
What he should have turned around and say, look, if you use intimidating behaviour or use inappropriate things, that's the offence, not shouting out a phrase which is used for religious purposes. So I think his optics, his things are totally wrong on this. He should have thought it through, because this is a predictable headline.
And just to be precise here, the word Allah, it means God. It's the same God. Muslims, Christians and Jewish people all believe in the same God. It's one God on a chronological different time. Jewish people first, Christians after, Muslims at the end. Everyone prays to the same God.
Yeah,
It's just, I mean, I can see it is associated with, terrorists sometimes have been known to yell it at the appropriate moment, haven't they? And that's why there is this sort of fear generated around it. But as you say, that's been hijacked by extremists.
Yeah. And lots of people use it for legitimate. And actually, the majority.
Mind you, is there an argument to say, well, why would you be yelling it in public?
Oh no, but I get that. So make the offence if you're using something in an intimidatory way, or that sort of stuff, something which is insightful. The difficulty is, I was holding up this sort of headline, that's exactly shouting out God is great, which effectively is what you're saying, is not an offence. The way that you use language, the way that you use behaviour and so on and so forth is, and that should be the focus rather than what's clearly going to be an incendiary headline.
What do you want to talk about now?
I was going to go about Princess Beatrice.
Oh, we love that. Did you get your invite?
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, let's talk about Princess Beatrice. Well, it's her 36th birthday today.
Hurrah!
And, they were not allowed to put it out on the official channels because she's not an acting royal, she's not a working royal, but they said it's going to be shared privately. And that is the story they've got up for us.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Well, there you go. Well, that's very good. 36.
It's my brother-in-law's birthday today, and he's 37.
There you go. And I'm 39. So don't laugh at that. I had a tough paper round. It was going to be good.
Very tough.
8th of the 8th is very lucky, because obviously the Beijing Olympics put around that sort of stuff. It's Octopus TV Day. That's my company. So working on that sort of basis. What I love about Princess Beatrice, she was born at the Portland Hospital, which is the home of the greatest productions ever. Lots of the royal family were born there as well. She's also now, which I love this, got a stepson called Wolfie. There you go. Is that good?
Wolfie. Yeah.
That's what I was going to be called if I was a boy.
Were you?
Wolfie.
Fun fact, Wolfie.
You were going to be called
Costello.
Well, I wasn't a boy.
Wolfie Costello, WC. That would be unfortunate.
I was going to be called Helen.
Were you?
Helen Dixon.
Helen Dixon, HD and WC.
WC.
Oh yes, WC.
WC. I'm glad you know. Flushed with success is what it would be.
8th of the 8th, 88.
It is 8th of the 8th, 88. You remember the Olympics? I was in Beijing at that time.
No. That was when she was born. 1988.
Oh, I see what you mean.
8th for the 8th,
okay.
88.
Isn't that lucky?
Yes.
Do you think she's been lucky?
Well, she's married and happy and very rich, so why not?
That's it, she is.
Okay.
Now, horse milk ice cream, anyone?
Oh, I love it. Red rum and raisin, anyone. Exactly what they say. What they've done, this is a wonderful thing. They've worked out that horse milk is much better for you than cow's milk.
Yay.
I know. It's very good. If you want your health to be stable, this is what you want. Thank you. A bit of a nightmare for people, you're right. There's a whole load of puns.
Would you fancy a bit of that, Winston?
Nah, not for me. I don't drink cow's milk, let alone horse milk.
Don't you?
No,
What milk do you have?
Oat milk.
Oat milk.
Yeah,
But those little oats are so difficult to
Squeeze
milk.
out of well, they are.
The idea of sucking underneath a cow's tit is just...
Teats.
Thank you.
Sorry, apologies. Teats, sorry.
I thank you. And in other news...
That's what I meant. I meant teats.
It's gotta be good.
That's
apologies.
Nutrients, however, they say it's similar to human milk in terms of the nutrients that you can get and so on and so forth, which is really powerful.
Yeah.
And they also say there's less fat, it's got better sort of health
well, there you
benefits.
go.
Well, let us
Very
know
healthy.
if you fancy it. gbnews.com/you'll say. Let's have a look at the weather now, shall we?
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Let's have a look at some of the newspapers for you this morning. The Times leads with thousands taking to the streets to confront anti-immigration protesters.
The Telegraph reports Britain shuts up shop over riots threat as the nation anticipated 100 protests last night.
Metro accuses the Russian President Vladimir Putin of stoking the riots by infiltrating online chat groups.
And The Sun leads with nailed and jailed as more than 100 rioters are charged and over 400 are arrested.
The Mail says last night was a win for anti-hate marchers who they say faced down the thugs.
Well, joining us now to go through the papers is broadcaster and lawyer Andrew Eborn and social campaigner Winston Davis. Good to see you both this morning.
See you.
Winston, tell us about this dark tourism in Ukraine.
So after Russia had invaded Ukraine, there's a town called Bucha where tourists are now going to view what happened there, and to see the bombs and the destruction of vehicles. I mean, it's quite a macabre industry. They call it dark tourism.
It's very odd.
But it's worth...
Why would you want to do that?
Well, people go there because they're interested to see what happens with their own eyes and actually see what the destruction of it. It's worth 25 billion worldwide, so people have obviously got an interest in it. But the actual people living there, I'm not saying, well, do you know, we're not, rather than getting rid of tourists, they actually welcome them to see actually what happened and to share it and to highlight it. And actually, it's also then bringing some revenue money back into the area. So as you know, as we...
It's weird, because we look at it and go, oh, God, what an awful thing to do. But if actually the people there want it to happen...
Absolutely.
Then...
And think about history. History is ugly. And what we need to do is learn the lessons from history so it doesn't happen again. I visited Auschwitz. And it's absolutely horrifying. I went there straight after seeing Schindler's List, so I was in tears at the end when they make the whole thing. So I think you're right. If it's used on that basis, rather than gruesome selfies, which is the headline, I think you're absolutely right. It could serve some good.
Yeah, when you think about it, I mean, there's nowhere more horrific to go than Auschwitz.
No, well, absolutely appalling.
In that sense.
Harrowing.
Oh, God, I can't.
But it's important you go, isn't it? Because you do learn lessons from the past and understand that human beings are capable of that evil.
Absolutely. So make sure it never happens again. You're so right.
I mean, and also, just 2 years ago, there was the Bucha massacre. So over 400 people civilians were just shot dead. Some of them with their hands bound. And you know, and to see that literally 2 years ago, you know, we're in here and we're complaining about, you know, upset about what's going on in our country, but literally, you know, hundreds of citizens getting murdered.
Yeah. And it's when you personify that, we get numbed with statistics, don't we? The 38,000 slaughtered, that sort of stuff. You get numbed with it until you realise there's a family behind each and every one of those statistics.
100%.
Can we change tack?
Yes.
Should we have a look at something which is a lot more pleasant? And this is Sebbie Hall.
Ah, brilliant.
But there's this statue of Sebbie Hall that's going to be melted down.
Yeah, it's horrendous. So Sebbie Hall, just to put it in perspective, I first came across him on the Neil Oliver show, and I know Ellie's interviewed him as well.
Yeah, he's great.
He basically was voted UK's kindest person, and he's basically done a random act of kindness. He says kindness is his superpower, and he's basically helping disadvantaged kids and so on and so forth. He's raised thousands. Eddie Marsden and I went down to Tower Hill.
Eddie Marsden, what a fabulous actor.
Brilliant actor. Andrew, who's he? But you worked on that sort of bit. And we went down to November, and here's the statue. This is us outside as well. We went down last November, and they had this glorious statue of Sebbie erected by the Thames. And what happened? It went back to his hometown of Lichfield. That particular centre is now going to be closed down, and the statue will be melted down and destroyed unless we can find a new home. So it's a plea, if you like, to the brilliant people in the world of GB News to try and find a new home for Sebbie Hall statue.
Why can't the good people of Lichfield find somewhere for it to go?
That's the problem. They had it in one of these centres, but that centre's been closed down for redecoration.
There's got to be somewhere it can go.
You would absolutely think. And Ashley Hall, who's his brilliant mother, I had the joy of spending the day with her during the whole thing, and also with the father as well. They've also got lots of help from the community. They're looking. But if people have got suggestions as to how we can continue to honour Sebbie in this way, but also what Sebbie would want to do, he wants to continue to spread the whole message of kindness and things like that. And what better way of doing it than to have the statue and focus energies on that as well?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, isn't it nice nice to see a young man. What's he, 21?
21, yeah.
Seeing a young man trying to promote a little bit of kindness. I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
We need lots of that as well, don't we?
Good on him.
Winston, have you ever had the feeling when you get home from holiday that you need to go on another holiday?
I've just got that right at the moment.
Oh, have you?
Been back for a couple of weeks, and
Where did you go?
Portugal.
Oh, lovely.
So I could do with a holiday. But yeah, there's a report or a survey that's come out and said that 1 in 10 doesn't get enough sleep when we're on holiday. That there are issues with heat in holiday rooms, uncomfortable mattresses, and generally people lots of the time going away. Millions of us come back from holiday feeling like we need another break, a survey has revealed. So yeah, 100%. I've actually got some good friends, Kathy and Steve, who are watching, right? And Kathy has broke her leg while on holiday.
What's Kathy been up to?
I don't know. Been dancing around or doing what they're doing. And
Go on holiday, break a leg.
But it's break it literally, you know, so they're going to need a holiday when they come back. But
people also get sick on holiday because when your immune system goes down, don't they? All of a sudden you're relaxing, you no longer have that buzz of adrenaline. So absolutely, what I love about this, and it's always good to hold the thing up, they always have the best photos. So apart from the holiday, they've got the best photo of the safe and hound as well, which I always love, always a good story for a dog. But they worked on that sort of basis. So they're talking about have that extra holiday because you need it after a holiday, you need another one to recover.
But the other thing is, I just found, like, when I was just wages now, is that I want to get on with things. I want to get up and experience things and go on trips and get out. And I don't like stopping, even though I probably should just stop and do nothing.
I'm the worst at lying still.
Oh, are you?
I can't do it. You know, people love a beach holiday. That's my worst nightmare.
I have
10 minutes.
I have no
10 minutes
problem.
I have no problem with that. My whole life's a holiday, so it's fine. I think you need variety, though. People do get bored on holiday. And I think you need to have lots of different things. But
little bits to do. Every other day, a little trip out in the afternoon.
You like a trip out, and you like a long walk.
where would you go? Where would be your long walk?
Well, if I was at work, but you see, like, we're going away in September, and we're going to go. I was going to say snowmobiling, but it's not. What do you call it? Jet ski.
Jet
skiing is
well, that'd be
brilliant.
good.
That's really good.
It's good fun.
But I could do that, and that would be my day's activity.
No, but that's good. But you're right. You need to have a magazine day, do different things every day. But you need to look after your pets as well, which is why the story's relevant. So they miss you. They miss you on the way.
They do miss you, but it's why you've got to do a lot of research in getting the right place.
Where does Timmy go?
Timmy goes to a really lovely cattery, and Rex goes to a really lovely doggery.
A doggery?
Kennels.
Are you allowed to say that?
Oh,
yeah,
God.
I'm sure you can say that.
No, probably not. But yeah, so he goes. But we've done a lot of research in finding the right places. So we know they're safe, secure, and happy there.
Yeah, you need to be safe and secure because they get traumatised. If they're away from home, they think you've deserted them.
Don't upset Stephen, he won't want to go.
No, I don't want to think about it. Andrew, Winston, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Let's have a look at the weather.